key fob pennant steps. You should already have your drawing done already by now. Your next step is to get it onto tracing paper. You're actually going to trace your drawing, make sure everything that's shaded out make sure everything that's that you want cut out is shaded out. Then your next step is to come over here. You guys, I've already shown you how to do this, but I might be repeating it for some. Some of you guys weren't here, so just be patient. You're going to use rubber cement to glue it together. So you put rubber cement onto the metal and onto the back of the tracing paper, and you let it sit like that for 5 minutes. If you put it together too soon, it's going to slide all over the place, and you're not going to be able to drill or saw or do anything with it. You're just going to make a big gooey mess. It's going to look like the glue is disappearing. That's what you want. So let it sit for 5 minutes, and then you're going to get something like this. Okay, and notice the tracing paper is not gooey, it's not moving around, it's all together, right? All right, the next thing is you're going to be piercing out all the center pieces. This is called a center punch. You need this. You put, who's talking over there? Is that you, Mohrbacher? You take the metal, you put it on the anvil, and you use the center punch. The first step of piercing is making a dent. You do it in all the parts that you're going to drill a hole for. There's now a little dent in every part that we're going to drill out. So you come over here. This is our drill press. Always have to use goggles. Girls, actually boys too, your hair has to be tied back, nothing loose. If you have necklaces, anything loose, if you have like, I don't know, loose clothes, put it back. All right, I'm using goggles, even over my glasses. Yeah, they're a little scratched up and it's hard to see, that's okay. First step is to line up, this part's the drill bit, line it up with a dent where you're going to drill a hole. By the way, there is a step stool for anybody who's too short. Use the top button, turn it on. So I know it's hard to hear me over the drill, so I'm turning it off for a second. The trick to this is making sure you're holding onto the metal tightly. If you let go, the metal's going to fling. Okay, and that's why we wear the goggles, to protect our eyes. You're going to do it in two steps. You're going to put the drill bit in a little bit, holding on to the metal. I went through a little bit, like halfway, and then you go through all the way the second time, hanging on to the metal. Got a nice hole. There's one hole in here. I'm not going to drill them all out and waste your time on that. All right. Put the goggles back. Can you guys see the hole? I only put one, well, there's already that one in there. This is an old piece of metal. Okay, the next step is to learn how to saw. You're going to need a blade. This is the saw blade. You're going to need the saw. We went through this in the handout. Who can tell me which way the saw blade needs to be going?
It goes from this side, from the top to the bottom.
Kind of. Forward, kind of. Okay, so this saw blade should be nice and smooth if you run your finger down it. And if you go up, it's going to be kind of rough. And this is how I put the blade in. I put it through the top first. This is how it's easiest for me. And I close it. And the next thing that you'd be doing is closing the bottom. But because we're going to actually saw out the little hole that I put in, you kind of put the saw blade through the hole. slide the metal all the way up to the top. And then the saw blade, you should have a little bit of a gap at the bottom. There should be a little bit of space between the bottom of the saw blade and the actual saw. That's because when you smush it against the table like this, you tighten it, the saw blade moves down to the bottom, it's nice and tight, and it should make a pinging sound. Well, it's not quite pinging because of this metal, but it's nice and tight, okay? All right, so that's ready. This is the V-block, C-clamp, right? You're gonna attach it to your table. Nice and tight. So it's not gonna move on you. Okay, when you saw, who remembers what direction, how you should be holding the saw? Horizontal or vertical? Vertically, yeah, vertically straight up and down. Horizontal will break your blade like that. Okay, that's how easy they break. So now I have to put another one in.
If you break too low, it's 50 cents.
What's that?
If you break too low, it's 50 cents.
Well, you guys get a whole pack. This is how you open the saw blades, just like that. This will be a fun video. All right. Yeah, they're very little.
No wonder it breaks. Is this one?
All right, so I'm putting this back in. So the saw blade should be going, how should it feel when you rub your finger down it?
Slow.
Yep. You gotta put this back in. Metal all the way up to the top. Make it nice and tight. All right. I don't have a chair. Borrow this. All right, now the thing about sawing, you guys, first of all, you want to give it a few down strokes just to get it going, and keeping the saw blade straight up and down. And you really don't have to force it. It doesn't take much pressure. You let the saw and the blade do all the work. And you can tell I'm starting, some of you might not be able to see, but I am starting to actually cut now into the metal. Notice my fingers are away from the saw blade. Okay? You don't want to be cutting like this or like this, because if the saw blade breaks, you can actually shoot it right through your finger. You don't want to do that, trust me. So fingers need to be away. And you slowly, as you're turning the metal. I'm not turning the blade at all. I'm going to have to blow a little here. I didn't want you to get metal in your eyes, Ira. All right, so it's actually, I'm actually halfway through now with this O. If you ever need to stop, there's a couple ways you can, who knows how you can get out of here.
Back it up.
Yeah, you can back it up while you're sawing, okay? Or you can just open up the blade. You can open up the saw and remove the blade. That's another way you can get it out. Okay, after, you can keep going. After you're done cutting all the insides out, and this does take practice, and yeah, you're gonna be going through some blades. Then your next step is to get these files. These files are they all have different shapes. Here's a square one. Here's one that's completely, well, this one's half rounded. They're shaped so you can get into the different spots of the metal. And you're going to file the whole outside. And you still need the V-block and the C-clamp. I don't want to see you doing them right on the tables because that'll wreck our tables. So, basically what you're doing, what's that?
These tables are already right.
No, these are new tables. All right. So basically what you're doing is you're getting in there and you're smoothing it out. You're gonna have a lot of jagged edges from the sawing, and you wanna make it look nice. You want the letters shaped nicely. It's really hard to shape your letters nicely with the saw. You can't do it. Here's a nice round one. You can get right in there, like into these little corner spots. All right, after you're done filing the whole thing all the way around and the inside, then you're gonna be sanding the edges. And I'll go into that more. We're not quite there yet. So is there any questions? Does everyone understand? All right, so what I want you guys to do is to go ahead and get your drawings done. And